In this example, we are given quarterly demand data over 3 years. So in the columns of this table we have the quarters 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the rows we have the years 1 to 3. And we have the average demand in the bottom row, the average demand for the first quarter, which is the average of these three numbers. We have the average demand of the second quarter, which is the average of these three numbers. When we sum up the rows, we get the annual demand, though the annual demand of year 2 is 399 units. And when we sum up the average demand of the quarters, we get to the average annual demand. Though the average annual demand is 400, and you can get this by either getting the average, calculating the average for these three numbers, or adding up the quarterly demand, the quarterly average demand. Both result in an average demand of 400. In the graph below this table, the demand for each quarter is shown, though this point is the demand of quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Now we get to the fifth quarter, which is 130. We get to quarter number 6 and 7, which is 173, and so on and so on. The average demand per quarter, the average quarterly demand is 100. Yeah? You get this by taking the average of these 4 average quarterly demands. So dividing 400 by 4, then this is the average quarterly demand. So now how to calculate the seasonal index for each of these 4 quarters? Well, to get the seasonal index of quarter 1, you take the average demand of quarter 1, which is 128, and divide it by the average quarterly demand, which is 100. So the seasonal index of quarter 1 is 128 divided by 100, which results in 1.28. The seasonal index for quarter number 3 is 75 divided by 100 equals 0.75. You find these results on the next slide. Here you have it, seasonal index of quarter 3 is 75. The average demand in quarter 3 divided by the average quarterly demand, 100, equals 75. And if you do this for all the 4 quarters, for all the 4 periods that we are looking at in this example, and you add the seasonal indices up, then the result is 4, which is exactly the number of periods. So despite very small rounding errors, when you add up the seasonal indices of the periods that you looked at, it should always be equal to the number of periods. So when you do a seasonal index calculation for 12 months of a year and you add up these seasonal indices, the result should be 12 because you were looking at 12 periods. This is a way how you can check, how you can double check your calculations.